morning, New York. Good morning, Brooklyn. Hello, Laurie. How are you?
Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, yes. Time flies when I'm in New York. Yes. Amazing city. Beautiful. Yes. And it's shiny today for the first time. And I'm doing here interviews inside. Anyway, let me first of all introduce you to my guest. Her name is Laurie, and she does something I never heard of it. It's called a court reporter, and it's a language. It's called a stenotype, or a stenographer. Am I right, Laurie?
You are.
Oh, that was typical. Okay, it's all about the machine. She's gonna tell us all about it, and she's a freelancer, and she's gonna tell us how it works. When she told me a court reporter, I thought that somebody is in the court and it's, typing. And she said, no, it's not about that, and I'm gonna start asking her questions. Laurie, first of all, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Can you just tell us what is a Stenotype machine? Because you work on that.
All right.
Okay.
I have got a machine that has been around for 100 years in terms of the keyboard. What you're going to see in this video are the latest technology in what I do. It wasn't done this way 100 years ago, but this is a machine that has a keyboard that handles the English language in such a way that allows me to take the spoken language as it's being spoken. I don't have to ask always for people to slow down. I actually write as people are speaking, every word they say. And in the legal system in America, we place great importance on what we call verbatim records of testimony, whether it's in the court system or doing what I do, which is freelance. I do depositions. It's the question and answer session that happens before things go to court.
So it is for which purpose? It is penal or?
It is purposes of making a record of a witness's testimony. If there was a lawsuit, and all that I do is civil work, it's not
civil,
criminal.
it's not criminal, exactly.
Yes. So two people or two entities suing each other, and the court system or the judicial system, we have what we call the right of discovery. I have the right, as I sue you, to find out what your evidence is, and that includes witnesses' testimony.
So, but that, tell me if I'm wrong, so you have the deposition, and rather than typing it normally, you do this on your machine, and it's not registered in the court, right?
Yes, until something is actually pursued and they say we're definitely going to trial now, then they will file all of my transcripts with the court. But until then, it's a confidential, it's a
friendly.
We're talking litigation, so friendliness never really comes into
play. Yeah, but I mean, you're not in court and you don't have a judge.
Correct.
Okay.
I sit in a room in a law firm with at least one attorney that's representing the witness and another attorney that's representing the other side of the table, let's say.
Okay.
There may be more parties involved, but there's at least one person suing another person, so there's two attorneys.
Yeah.
And then we bring in a witness. It might be one of the people that's involved in the lawsuit or one of their witnesses, and then I record or report everything that's said in that room.
Why, stupid question, why wouldn't they would not use a normal person who's typing on a machine or a computer? Sorry.
I get that question all the time.
Okay.
It is a keyboard that allows me to keep up with the speed of the spoken word.
How many average exactly? How many?
Okay. Average conversation, about 180 words a minute. And I don't know anybody that can type even, most people these days, 100 words a minute would be very fast on a typewriter or computer. I am certified at 225 words a minute. And nobody speaks at a regimented speed. Especially in New York, with fast-talking New Yorkers, I have to often do speeds of 300 words a minute plus.
And you told me like somebody very famous with 400?
Yes, and I won't blame just the famous person. It was a combination of the attorney questioning him and then the very rigorous question-answer session.
Okay, so basically because you type, you told me it's not typing, it's writing.
Correct.
Because you even write what's happening in the session, I mean, even if you have sounds or only what's happening, you just...
For my purposes,
Yes.
for a legal court document, which is a transcript, just the spoken word.
Okay.
If I were to use the same skill set and use it for other purposes, for instance, many of my colleagues will use these same skills to provide services for somebody that has a hearing problem.
Yes.
Either completely deaf or some sort of hearing impairment. In that case, it's important for the hearing person, the person that has the disability, to not only hear or see in a written format what's being said, but if there's laughter, or if there's another, somebody just walked in the room, or the lights dimmed, just different things.
Yeah,
like
or
that.
cat came in.
They need to know everything that's going on, and that also a court reporter can do.
Okay. So basically, if I understand with my few knowledge, that is a language, a new language.
Yes.
Like the signs. Well, okay. In question, why wouldn't they? Since the language of the sign is international.
Yes.
Why won't you use that with filming and keep that as a file? Why would you use you?
Okay. I don't know sign language, so I'm just going by what I understand. That first of all, it is not verbatim, which verbatim means every word.
Verbatim, yeah.
Also, I understand with sign language, sentence structure is sometimes transposed. You might have the subject coming after the verb, and in the at least American English language, we'd like our sentence structure a certain way. So I am writing verbatim as the person is speaking it, so everything is just as it's spoken. That would answer why not a sign language person.
Okay.
Recording equipment, I often get asked, why?
Yeah.
Why haven't you
Recording.
become a dinosaur? Why are people still using this old 100-year-old keyboard?
Exactly.
You and I right now are engaging in a question-answer format, similar to my depositions.
Yeah.
I need to capture, as a court reporter, just your questions, my answers. Maybe there's an objection on the other side of the table. But there could be other extraneous sounds, other conversations. We may have somebody over here, a receptionist, making conversation out in the hall. There might be a jackhammer out this window. There might be a conversation just at the other end of the table. I need to catch just what you and I are doing. Recording equipment does not have that discernment.
Yeah, exactly.
I can discern. I'm just capturing these two things.
They don't filter. I mean, you are
Exactly.
there to filter everything,
Yeah.
which the report is all about. Tell me, this wonderful machine that is in front of me, that you can see on your screen, there are no letters, words, anything on it, and it is very weird. How many keys we have?
22.
22 keys. Line 9, 9, and 4? 18, 19,
Actually,
20, 21, 22.
visually, for you to look at it, you wouldn't even be able to count, because some of these look like 2 keys, but it's actually 1.
Okay,
So
I really looked down
it's
here.
no. It's admittedly a very interesting machine. It has just 22 keys. Obviously, not the whole English alphabet, which has 26 letters.
Yes.
And even with the 22 keys, I have sometimes 2 of the same letter.
Okay, so basically how many years do we have to learn how to use this beautiful machine that is 100 years old? You said 1880, yeah, something.
Yeah, about 1880 or so, the actual keyboard. It evolved a little bit, but the language is truly that, another language. I hear English and out comes this other language, as though I was speaking French, as your native tongue.
Yeah.
Your question again. See, I get focused.
It's okay. The question was, you only have 22 keys.
Right.
How many years of
How long?
How long? I mean, who today could learn? You go to university, you go to college, you learn it at school, high school. How do you do?
Okay.
So how many years?
First of all, it's 2 to 3 years on average.
Okay.
And the average comes in because some people, we have this phrase, they take to things like fish to water. They learn it fast. So the schooling, the training involves learning this language, this Stenotype or shorthand language. just as you would learn French. And how fast can you keep your speed up? Remember, I said 225 words a minute I have to be able to write. So my speed increases slowly. So that's why some people it might be 2 years. For me, I was 3.5, but I finished being able to write at the same speed.
Okay.
The way the education for it works, mostly through programs that are just shorthand or court reporter programs.
Okay. Tell me, do you just wake up one day and you said, I'm going to be a court reporter?
I had no knowledge of what a court reporter was.
Yeah, exactly. What did you do before?
I was a year or a little bit more than a year in my college, and I started as a music major. I played piano.
Piano and keys.
There's a little theme there.
Yeah, she types. Yeah.
I was a year or change into my music program, and I realized I don't want to do that. And my mom was the one that had the idea to do this.
From music to that.
Yes. And there's a connection that you wouldn't guess.
No, we're all here to hear it.
To hear it.
Yeah.
Yes, my physical movement of my hands and the stamina I have to sit in a particular position does help, which is what I learned from playing piano. Though the thinking is different. We had said before that every movement of my hands is called a stroke.
Stroke.
Right. So all my strokes add up to the writing I do on this keyboard. In every stroke, I have to think about what all I can do. Is it going to be a word? Is it going to be a phrase or a whole bunch of words in one stroke, one movement of my hands? When I played piano, I had to think about 1, 2, up to 10, or maybe even more keys I'm hitting on one beat of music.
Yeah.
Plus all the other things that come with music, the dynamics and the different things. So every beat, what was I going to accomplish? On here, what am I going to accomplish on every stroke?
Okay.
So it's the way to think.
So everyone has his own different way of typing. You don't all type the same way.
The basic language is, if you were another court reporter, and the words that I just said, if you were another court reporter, those are average everyday words, they're going to be written the same.
Okay.
Your name is not a spelling that is normal in our American language. So I would have to say, Sheryn, for your deposition, I'm going to have to specifically create
my name. Okay.
A stroke just for you.
Oh, that's so nice. And tell me, it's only for American language?
For the English language.
English?
What would happen if somebody, which happened this past week, I had 2 witnesses who were French law experts.
Yes.
They have phrases that they would give me in French. If I hear something in another language, and first of all, let me just say, my proceedings are understood that people are going to speak English, otherwise we'll have an interpreter. But in like the experience this week, there are times where a language has to be spoken, a phrase or somebody's name. I write it as it's heard. I captured the sound of it. Then I later ask, how do you spell that?
Okay, so it's by hearing.
Yes.
But tell me, this machine that has these 222 keys, can we use it for another language, or we have to create another software? That was the question.
So yes, the answer would be you would have to design the Stenotype language a little differently.
Okay.
I believe that in a few countries, the company that makes 99% of these machines has actually been able to design different letters for each key, but it would involve programming.
But mostly they use it in English for the States. Yes. And only. Do they use this machine in other courts? I mean, in Europe or everywhere else? No?
We have in America, of course, we were an offshoot of England. And so these 2 countries are some of the only ones that have a judicial system that really place an emphasis on, in their legal system, on a verbatim record. So other countries, it's the judge or somebody in the courtroom that'll just make a summary of what's said.
Exactly.
Not a verbatim record. So we are kind of unique in that respect. Canada, I believe, also uses it.
Okay, so mainly you're the person who, when somebody make a deposition, you have 2 parts. You're the one who just takes everything, write it, not type it, and then you give it to the court, or if there is going to be a court. What if I'm not a very honest person and since no one could verify, or how do you say vérifier? Yes. Certify what you are typing.
Mm-hmm.
You could maybe in between the lines add a small thing, the position, and who would tell me that everything that you're writing is true?
Well, I am considered an officer of the court. Even though, yes,
Oh my God.
I should have, I'm even a notary, I could have put you under oath before we started this interview.
Oh my God, okay.
So I am a notary,
I'm keen,
that's a
I'm keen.
small We are officers of the court, and it is presumed that we will conduct ourselves as such.
Mm.
Once I create the transcript, I have at the very last page a certificate that says, I am, first of all, not personally interested in the outcome of this case. And if for some reason I did show up one day at work and I know somebody or I have an interest in the company that's involved, I would have to disclose that and I would probably have to recuse myself.
Okay.
So I am first of all holding myself out to be an officer of the court and no personal involvement, and I certify that transcript.
Okay. Before we close this first part of the interview, do we live a decent life when we are a stenotyper or stenographer? Is it
Decent.
interesting? I mean, I never heard of it.
I know.
Yeah.
And when you asked why I started doing this, it was because my mother, and the reason, and she was not a court reporter, but she had one time worked for somebody who used to be a court reporter, and she said the reason it always stuck with her, that woman had such interesting stories to tell. So that's why when I came along and was frustrated with my college education, she's like,
You know,
Look
I
at the
tried this
story.
one and she have stories to say. What she does, if you knew all the stories to her, you could, but she can't because she's an officer.
yes.
So reasonable, good life, interesting. You said more at work because you're a freelancer, right?
Correct.
Okay, the difference between you and somebody who works in a tribunal, in a
Tribunal or courtroom.
court, you are stick to there. As for you, you can work in different law firms.
I can work with different law firms. I can work with different court reporting agencies that are called by the law firms. I could take the same skill set and go into the courtroom if I had a job. Then I would be hired by the state or the government.
Which is you're not. You're just a freelancer.
Correct. It's just a different avenue for the skill sets. I
forgot to ask you a very interesting question. When you're typing on the machine, you're in a court reporter and you are in this law office and you're typing, and maybe there are other people than the two how do you call it, the two witnesses, the two lawyers and their clients. How would I know what you're typing is real? I mean, can I read it somewhere?
Yes.
How can we do this?
So the technology has developed such that where the keyboard has stayed the same and the underlying language has stayed the same for really 100 years, the technology has come along and we've adopted and adapted it. Now, when I write on my machine, it takes that data, sends it to my personal computer, my laptop, immediately translates it into English from that strange shorthand language into English, into the proper format, question, answer, and then simultaneously, we call it real time, it can send it out to the attorneys or any other attender and put it on an iPad, on a laptop.
So as you
I
have
can
here.
even, yes, on my iPad here I have what we call real time. So as the proceedings are moving along, somebody can view them. I can even do it remotely. You could be sitting back in Lebanon and reading simultaneously what I am doing here in my law firm right now.
Amazing. I mean, you know, I'm like, tell me, this incredible small machine that you have here, can we ask how much does it cost? And if anyone can, like, I could go and buy it?
Certainly. I don't know what you would do with it. It would be a cute little toy.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a $5,000 toy.
Okay,
Yes.
$5,000.
And that's just the machine. Now, as I just described, I have to have the software that takes what I do on my machine and takes care of it on the laptop. That's another $5,000.
What do you mean? I didn't understand. The $5,000 is the machine as it is?
It's the machine. The software on that.
Software.
Right. The software on the laptop that does this work is another $5,000 investment.
Okay.
Then, for myself personally, I have the iPads. I personally have 4 iPads. A lot of times I need more than 4 iPads for the proceedings that I do. And those, of course, are whatever the current cost of an iPad.
Okay. So basically, it's a bit costly.
It is.
can start it? There is an age, or for example, can we learn it at school, or you have to have 4 years of college? How does it work? And this is the first question. The second question is that we only use it here in Europe, in the States, as a court reporter, or you can use it for something else? Because you said at a certain point you can use it for people who have an ear problem. Please.
So first, the
question was, it's okay.
See, that's a problem of asking two questions at once.
The first question was when we can start using
When
English.
we can start.
Yes.
So
This language.
most
learning
people
this language.
learning a language, really, people learn second languages at any age. I have colleagues who have actually gone many years ago through the program while they were in high school, and they finished high school with their high school degree and already had their certificate or diploma for doing court reporting, and immediately started doing court reporting.
So you can go to high school and at the same time you can go to this.
You could. It's not done that much anymore, but if you imagine finishing high school and then you can or cannot go to college with doing this, but a 2 to 3 year commitment to learn court reporting, and it's a fabulous career, especially for somebody that it's a skill-based career. I use a lot of knowledge, and I also use Google a lot too, don't get me wrong, but my career is skill-based.
Okay.
And so to do what I do, it's to me much more how I operate personally. If I had gone to college to get a 4-year degree, and boy, all those books I had to study and then take the knowledge from those books and go out into the world and apply it to my career, I'm not geared that way. This really works for me.
So that's very interesting. And today, can I use the skill, you said immediately, but I don't think that all lawyers need a court reporter. What can you use it for?
All right, so I describe what I do as a deposition setting.
Okay.
There's the courtroom setting. I also spoke about same skill set. I mentioned those are 2 avenues, and those are the ones that historically have been around the longest. Then we have what I mentioned before for hearing impaired.
Yes.
So I'm able to now put up with the advent of the technology that has the laptop or iPad screen in front of somebody, they can now see the spoken language as it's happening. So if you were hearing impaired, I could go with you into a classroom, and as the professor is speaking, you have much more of a benefit than you did before with maybe a sign language person. And we have in America the Americans for Disabilities Act, which first became implemented quite a number of years ago now, and it was phased in to our society. So now network TV, they are required to have closed captioning. That's another avenue. So when you turn on your TV, if it's live, the stuff that news or sporting events, that's a court reporter.
Oh my God, they use the Stenotype. Okay, good.
And I could be sitting, excuse me for interrupting, I could be sitting in the comfort of my own home at the news hour, which in America is at 11 o'clock at night, other times too, but many of us stop at 11 o'clock at night to watch the news.
Yes.
I could be a court reporter doing closed captioning in the comfort of my own home with all of this equipment, only I'm sending this data over to the internet, to the network that will then send it to you so you could have it on your TV.
Oh my God. That's amazing. But you know, I'm going to stop on something you said. As people who are blind, they have this language which is the...
Braille.
Yes. So if I have a problem with the hearing and I want to go to university, I could take somebody with me, he will type and hear everything you listen, and I will read it?
Yes. And it is something that is more and more required with the Americans for Disabilities Act, that hearing impaired student has the right to have complete access to what the professor is saying. And the professors in these universities are starting to work with the court reporter and preparing us to come with you as a hearing impaired student.
So in each room, you have somebody who is a court reporter, a stenotyper? So for people who have a problem with the hearing?
It would be something, I first of all have not done this myself, but the way I understand it works is if you were a hearing impaired student, you'd have to look into it at your university to have me come in as a court reporter. It's not automatically provided, no.
Okay, unfortunately, but that would help everybody, to the people who have
And it's so gratifying when you hear my colleagues who do this kind of work say it's so gratifying because you're opening up a whole world to somebody that's hearing impaired that normally with, as I said before, sign
Yes.
language, you're just getting some of what's being said.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
everything.
Not everything.
Yeah.
It's not everything by language of the sign, as you said. It doesn't really help. That's amazing. I mean, amazing job and future. Because like now I can go back to my kids and tell them, you know what, you can be a court reporter, but it can help you a lot. It can help many people. It's a language.
Yeah.
You know, they speak languages, so that's a more plus. But it has to be now in English. But they do speak English. Now, if let's forget all about the court reporter. What would you have chosen as a job if you had, you know, left this music stuff, this music and piano?
Okay, so leaving music behind.
And your mother didn't tell you, you know what?
Yeah.
There is the court reporter. What would you have done?
You know, I'm a critter person. I love animals. I would have found something to do with animals.
Okay, so like a vétérinaire or a veterinarian?
You know, I'm not sure I'd want to be as technical and scientific, and there's some hard things.
Yeah,
but
I know.
if you could just say, raise some puppies and some kitties, and
Maybe have a,
or a rehab center where I help animals that are maybe, special animals that get well.
Okay, because she loves animals and cats, by the way. You today would, if you had to give a advice to this new generation, for example, my kids that you met,
Yes.
what would you tell them about this job that you're having? Like in few sentences, what would it be to everybody who's looking at us? What would you give advice or just about this job that is, I think, in all Europe and in the Middle East and all over the world, it's unknown.
I find myself often actually answering this for people who have children that are needing to think about a career. Often this is a second career for people. Sometimes people are my age, middle age, and they are now needing a new career. What I find myself first asking are kind of some personal things like, are you a perfectionist? If you're a perfectionist, you'd be well suited for this. The other thing I also find is, can you handle conflict? The nature of a lawsuit. Now, I'm again working just in my legal realm. There are these other avenues that don't involve as much conflict. But the nature of a lawsuit is conflict. I walk into a deposition, or if I were to walk into a courtroom and do what I do, I have to be able to handle the fact that the whole reason we're there is conflict. There are two people, there are two entities.
I sue you.
Yes. My personal, again, it's I come back to who this suits, and really, when I advise anybody on finding a career, find something that even the little things, it's not all about the paycheck, little things that suit you, that work with you. And I find telling people that if you can handle conflict, as long as it doesn't involve you, you're okay doing this.
Okay.
But I know many people that even walking into a room and seeing two people, two sides of a table in conflict, they wouldn't be able to do that, and you have to have a great concentration skill to do this.
Okay. So concentration, and if you are professionals. Now, you are a woman.
Last I checked.
Living in New York. Tell us, would you leave New York to do this job somewhere else? Because you told me New York is like the town for you.
I have said to you before that this, I call it the litigation capital of the world. For what I'm doing, it's perfect. I actually came here 26 years ago, having come from Atlanta, and so I had to find out what court reporting in a whole new place is like. So I would have a very tough time being convinced to leave New York for a reason. I have done this though for different assignments. I have traveled with it.
Yeah. You told me there is even an association for people who are like you and that send you in different countries. That's amazing. It's nice. Like they take care of this how do you say, métier, this job that you're doing.
Yes.
Now, if I go backward and I ask you, would have you changed? And you said yes, with animals. Do you think? Because I love animals too. I wanted to be a veterinarian too.
Many people think it's just too silly. But
no, it's not.
It's a passion of mine.
Yeah, because so you're far away from humans, which sometimes are not that smart. I would tell you, if I had, this question I like to ask, if I was a magician and I had this magical wand, and you had only one wish, if I close your eyes and I tell me, okay, what would you tell me to, the wish? One wish.
Well, I think I'm going to tie a couple things together that we've just spoken about. And I just used the word silly. Some people think animals are silly, but it is a passion of mine. And you know what? Animals I've never known to sue each other. I would love to be able to wave that wand and say, no more lawsuits. Of course, that would put me as a court reporter out of business.
Yes.
And then I really would have to raise puppies. But it would be nice if there weren't conflicts that were lawsuits in the world.
Yeah, but that's...
It's unrealistic.
Yes, it's unrealistic, yes, it is. But it's nice, like you wanted, again, peace, like
Yes.
peace.
If I could only do just the skill set doing things like helping people that have a disability or...
That's amazing.
It's, very
Because
positive.
I interview many people here in the States, and basically you are all looking for peace. It's amazing. We in Europe, Middle East, would tell you, yes, I would have to have a big villa on the beach or somewhere in the Caribbean. And no, I'm personally very touched by this humanity that you have. You're so far away from everything, but at the same time, you're so much connected to and living in New York. Like if you would live in a countryside, would not be as much as. But you are definitely. I mean, I never wanted to come to New York, but the time I came to New York, I don't want to leave. That's amazing. I would like to live in Brooklyn, not in Manhattan. I really like Brooklyn. It's really amazing. Now, one last thing you would like to share with us in all the Middle East and Europe. Just anything you would like to say. The camera is all for you.
I'm finding myself thinking, you mentioned our national organization. It is the National Court Reporters Association. Their motto is Guardians of the Record. And as I said to you, my wish with your magical wand would be poof, no more litigation, no more people suing each other at disagreements. But there are other things that we do with this, such as the hearing impaired work. But we are guardians of the record. I have myself and other colleagues made a record of history. I know people that, for instance, worked on the Nuremberg trials after World War II, and what they captured on the record is not just a legal document, it's history.
Yes.
I had an experience after 9/11 working in New York City.
Wow.
I got to capture on the record interviews of the firefighters that worked that day and lived to tell about it. That was not a legal document, that is recorded history. So in that sense, I think about my National Association's motto, Guardians of the Record, and it could be a record of life and history.
Wow, very deep. And I just want to stop before the last question. That was the last question, actually. 9/11. Give me one very testimony that really. How do you say it? Sometimes I forget my words in English. That you kept, like one testimony that made you think differently. You said to me it's about this guy, this fireman, this fire.
So the work I did.
Yeah.
The firefighters, what we now call first responders, that responded and rescued and helped and
you had the position of this man you told me?
No, actually I did about 180 interviews that I recorded.
180?
My colleagues and I formed a small group that did 500 interviews
for
of
the
first responders.
Okay.
And so we got a very clear picture of what happened that day and their response to it. So it was an honor to record that history, but the toughest thing I ever did with
Yeah, exactly. That was the toughest read, right? Okay. Bon, Laurie, thank you again, and thank you for this lovely machine. You came today with a huge luggage to get that for us. I'm sure that we're gonna show the machine and everything on the. Do you have a website or something so somebody can come?
I don't. I am so freelance. If you're interested in the career,
yes, or if somebody want to contact you to work with you,
you could
email.
Look at the website, which for the National Court Reporters Association, NCRA, probably .org. But you could certainly Google that, and they've got a great amount of history, and if you wanted to pursue the career choices.
Okay.
I'm glad to share my personal email for my work purposes.
Yes, yes.
Now you're going to have to learn how to spell properly because this is part of my world, but reporter.laurie, LAURIE.com. Oh, I apologize, that's an email address I meant to say. Court reporter, I got all confused.
Yes.
Courtreporter.laurie@gmail.com.
Okay, so coachreporter.laurie@gmail. That's very easy. Even me, that
Yes.
I can. Okay. Super. Merci Laurie. Thank you Jack, my assistant, and thank you to all of you to support the work I'm trying to do, to spread the world in all the world, actually, in different languages. But here we are today in New York, Brooklyn. I'm leaving tomorrow. It's a pity. I hope to see you all again. Thank you again for your saying yes, because that was very difficult. See you. Au revoir. Merci.